Hello and welcome to the Total Packers off-season update. Larry McCarron, along with my esteemed colleagues from Packers.com, Mike Spofford and Weston Hotkowitz. And gentlemen, let's dive right in. Mike, your biggest headline of the off-season so far.
Well, it's hard to pick just one, Larry. There's been a lot going on, whether you're talking about hiring new coordinators in two key coaching positions, and we've seen some players come and go through free agency and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the two biggest things the Packers are looking at, some key players they need to get healthy for 2026. Micah Parsons, Devontae Wyatt, Tucker Kraft, Zach Tom, all those guys so key on both sides of the ball. But then all the guys that you have coming back, Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, Christian Watson on one side of the ball, Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, Edgerrin Cooper on the other side of the ball. Yes, there's been some change and some turnover, but some core pieces are still here in Green Bay.
And Wes, your biggest headline.
Stability, Larry. The Green Bay Packers and President, CEO, Ed Policy, big decision they made this offseason, extending their entire brass all the way from Matt LaFleur, Russ Ball, General Manager, Brian Gutekunst. Ed deciding he wanted to press forward with this current establishment, this current administration, and he talked with us about that down in Arizona at the NFL annual meetings and how he looked at the totality of what those men have accomplished together, feeling like that was the best foot for this football team and this organization to push forward. And Matt LaFleur, once again, returning as the Packers head coach.
And a couple of those headliners spoke at the recent league meetings in Phoenix, Arizona. Here's Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst.
I thought we did some really good things last year, but at the end, when some of the adversity hit, we didn't finish like we needed to do, and I would expect this team moving forward to work towards, fixing that.
Obviously, every year, new challenges. There's going to be a lot of new faces on our football team, and so you got to try to put these guys in the best position possible, and I think the only way you can do that is you strip everything down and really get to the detail.
I really like the energy of our guys that we're bringing back, and I'm really excited to see how the new guys, coming from where they came from, how they fit in with our squad. And then obviously we have a full draft and a lot of months to go before we get there. So I think we're all kind of, eager to start working with these guys. They'll be here, in a couple of weeks, but a lot of work to do before we get there.
The NFC North has seen its share of changes this offseason. The Bears have retooled their roster, particularly on defense. The Lions made a splash at running back by trading David Montgomery, and the Vikings added Kyler Murray to compete for their starting QB job. Time will tell which changes make a difference. As for the Packers, it's been an off-season of change on the coaching staff. And one of those changes came at defensive coordinator, where Jonathan Gannon replaces Jeff Hafley. And Spoff, what can you tell us about Coach Gannon? What's he bringing to the party?
Well, he's bringing experience and success, Larry. When you look at his track record, when he was the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, that was a top 10 unit. They set an NFL record for sacks one year. They went to the Super Bowl, obviously. There are players involved in that too, not just the coaching. But one of those players, Hargrave, was with Jonathan Gannon in Philadelphia, and now he's with him again here in Green Bay. And then from the experience side of things, Gannon is a guy who's been a head coach in the NFL with the Arizona Cardinals for 3 years. That kind of experience is something that Matt LaFleur really appreciates. A guy he can talk to, he can bounce ideas off of, somebody who has sat in his very chair, and that's the kind of chemistry that he's looking for on his coaching staff.
Of course, the draft is the next big thing on the NFL calendar. And for the latest, we turn to the man Mel Kiper has on speed dial, Wes Hotkowitz. And Wes,
Thank you, Larry.
Let's cut to the chase now.
Yeah.
Who the Packers going to pick? Spill your guts.
Well, the nice thing for Jonathan Gannon, right, is that the pieces are already in place on this roster, but expect more reinforcements next week during the NFL draft. Here are 5 names to watch on defense.
Picked off by Kyle Lewis.
Pittsburgh's game wrecker-in-chief is linebacker Kyle Lewis. Number 9 lives in the backfield, thanks in large part to his speed and instincts.
Kyle Lewis read it beautifully.
Cornerback Chris Johnson is also ready for the big leagues.
Intercepted down the sideline, Chris Johnson.
He reeled in a career-high 4 picks last season.
And while he's touted for his clean footwork, his hands are downright dirty.
San Diego State with a miraculous interception.
Another ball hawk moving up draft boards? Trayden Stoops. Just like Johnson, he reeled in 4 INTs last year, but he's bigger and faster, authorizing Stoops to establish his own no-fly zone. And like Stoops, Romello Height earned first-team All-Big 12 honors.
Gobbled up and driven down. Romello Height broke through the line of scrimmage.
The relentless edge rusher compiled 10 sacks last season, while flashing top-end closing speed. The same can be said for Oklahoma's Grayson Holton.
Blown up Grayson Holton.
The team captain knows how to seek and destroy. And one thing each of these defenders have in common, they can all wreck a game.
Grayson Holton takes it into the end zone.
Javon, you play one of those positions where you got to be a mean SOB. How do you turn it on and off?
I know how to hit that switch.
When we come back, a conversation with the veteran Javon Hargrave, a big addition to the Packers defense. Guys, what do you think of the new headquarters?
Well, it's awfully big, Larry. I feel like I might get lost in there or something. Maybe I'll have to invite you in to have lunch and you can show me around or something, but looks pretty cool.
What do you think, Wes?
It's pretty snazzy, Larry. I remember many years ago we were like pulling tables around in the studio to set up Packers Unscripted. Now we have like our own little spaces for every show that we do. So progress keeps moving forward.
I took a little tour and my impression was this is big time. And I'm just worried they're going to start looking for talent to match.
They might need it, yeah.
Yeah, that's us guys,
Yeah,
all right?
right.
At any rate, how does the old saying go? Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And that brings us to the excruciating way last season ended. It was painful.
Well, obviously, this one is going to hurt for a really, really long time. It's going to take a lot of work, because we're not where we want to be.
I think it's just trying to, continue to tell guys to come back hungrier, keep working, because we have a really good team. I feel like we let one slip away, and something that we just got to live with for the offseason and, let it fuel us.
Everybody just raising their attention to details, doing all the little things at a high level. But when we learn that balance of having fun, but also being very intentional to our details and our work preparation, then the sky's the limit.
Find ways to be able to stomp on teams, we get a lead, and we put ourselves in a good position. Staying hungry through the offseason. When you look back on it, the things that kind of held us back from being ultimately great, just keeping all that stuff on your mind.
So, Spaff, can any good come out of that playoff loss to the Bears?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the players are going to use it as fuel, right? But you also look at the totality of the season. There were other games during the year when the Packers didn't finish things off the way they needed to and the way they wanted to, and then it bit you in the playoffs. So when those things come up in the regular season, you got to get them fixed, you got to get them rectified, so that then when it really matters in January, hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Thank you, Spaff. The tape says Javon Hargrave is a good player. Our sit down with him says he's also just one good dude. Take a look. Javon, you've been in the league for 10 years, but you're new to Packer fans. How would you describe the way you play?
Violent. Technique-wise, quick twitch, strong. I don't know,
I feel like I'm a great football player.
Your nephew seemed pretty excited about you joining the Green Bay Packers.
A Green Bay Packer?
Yes.
Let's go!
Yeah, he loved it. He loved it. Like,
he's an internet sensation.
Yeah, that's him though. That's his personality.
Yes.
He's 7 years old, but he like an old soul, so he love all the legendary stuff.
You're a proven performer. You can't find a lot of guys that do what you do. So you're gonna have options as a free agent, and yet you signed with the Green Bay Packers. Why?
It was multiple reasons. I mean, one is a great football team. They got great tradition. My old DC, Jonathan Gannon, I had my best years with him, and he's definitely a good friend that I kept up with over the years. He was one of the big reasons too.
Why did you have your best years with Jonathan Gannon as your boss?
I mean, he did a lot of things to give me ops, and I think just his defense kind of fit some of my style and what I like to do.
Through the course of your career, Javon, you've played with some really good rushers. But I don't know if you've ever played with anybody quite like Micah Parsons. I mean, the guy is like from a different planet. Are you looking forward to that?
Most definitely. I have played with a lot of great ones, but Michael is definitely unique in his own way. I mean, I'm always excited to play with people who can rush the passer and stop the run.
The Packers feel like they've got a quarterback who can lead us to the promised land. Now, you've lined up across from Jordan Love. What do you think?
I mean, it's rare. It's very rare to have a quarterback in this league, and I think he's one of the best in the game. So, like, that's another reason just to come with somebody that's very proven and can get the job done.
Watson got it! Touchdown! Green Bay Packers!
Well, Javon, you'd just sit with you for a couple minutes and you would say, Javon's a good guy. How do you turn it on and off? Because you play one of those positions where you got to be anything but a good guy. You got to be a mean SOB. How do you turn it on and off?
I know how to hit that switch. I know I'm very chill off the field, but I mean, I got a crazy competitive edge. You know, that ball on the thing, I just know how to hit that switch and get it going.
Hargrave joins a cast of new faces that look to add some juice to a young roster. One notable veteran, linebacker Zaire Franklin.
Anybody, anywhere, anytime.
The ninth-year pro comes to Green Bay via trade from Indy, and he brings a track record of dependability, missing just one game in 8 seasons.
Eyes up, fires end zone, intercepted by Franklin. Mr. Reliable, the stud in the center of this defense, Zaire Franklin.
Franklin has been a regular starter since 2022 and picked up Pro Bowl and All-Pro honors just 2 seasons ago. Elsewhere on defense, the Packers added Benjamin St. Juste. At 6'3", 200, he could be a big presence in the Packers' defensive backfield.
Throws towards the end zone. Incomplete! Broken up by Benjamin St. Juste!
The Packers made an intriguing move with the signing of Sky Moore.
Go, baby!
A receiver in your programs, but undoubtedly a contributor from day one in the return game.
88 yards for Sky Moore.
Brian Gutekunst has also shored up his roster with the return of several rotational players and depth pieces from last season, setting the stage for what should be a competitive summer on the practice field. Just one extension on that list, but it's a big one. Sean Rhyan signing for 3 years and $33 million to become the Packers' official starter at center. Here's why. If you'll recall, Sean was playing guard until Elton Jenkins got hurt. In just his 3rd start at center, look what he does to the Lions' all-pro linebacker Jack Campbell. Can you say finish, and can you say physical? Sean is not a get-in-the-way type blocker. He paves the way with the strength to move people off the line of scrimmage one-on-one and to do it consistently. There's no finesse in Sean's game. He's a 6'5", 320-pound brawler, and that pays winning dividends against the biggest and strongest rushers the league has to offer. This play says it all. Ball going right, defender to Sean's right, and Sean still muscles him to the ground. That's why Sean Ryan is the Packers' new starter at center.
I thought each week he got better. He's such a stout, powerful man inside there, and then the little intricacies of playing center, I thought he got better at each week. He really worked at his craft for that. I thought he was a true professional, and we knew he could play guard at a high level. Second half of the season, we realized he could play center at a very high level, and we were really excited to get him back.
As I'm sure you know, Bob Harlan passed away on March 5th. Bob came to the Packers in '71. I came in '73. So I pretty much saw it all. And I want to tell you, if they ever do a Packers Mount Rushmore, Bob Harlan is on it. Bob changed the face of the franchise both on and off the field, laying a foundation for long-term success, a foundation we still stand on today. Under Bob's leadership, winning was once again the standard, and the renovated Lambeau Field became the envy of the entire National Football League. It is the house that Bob built. Under Bob's leadership, the Packers went from NFL afterthought to one of the most admired organizations in all of sports. And under Bob's leadership, the Packers not only won, they won with class. When Bob was president and CEO, if you called the Packers and asked for Bob Harlan, you got him, and you got him right away. Packer fans weren't his customers, they were his family, and he'd always listen. As good as Bob was at his job, he was even better as a human being. Bob Harlan was 89 years old.
Bob really set the gold standard for anybody who was going to follow him in this very unique position. He was so well respected throughout the league, and he really represented all of us in this community.
We don't own the team. We're caretakers. I hope people look back at me and say he was a good caretaker while he was here.
With the 23rd pick, Matthew Golden, wide receiver of Texas.
Talk about giving the people what they want.
He's a special talent. Kid's electric.
Rainbows left side at the bottom of that rainbow. A Golden 20, spinning his way 50. Takes a tackle 10 to the 5, cuts it back. Touchdown, Matthew Golden.
Matthew Golden, the Packers' top pick a year ago. And Weston, what do you see for young Matthew in year two?
A clear runway, Larry. I mean, this is a young man that when you talk about all the attributes you look for in a first-round pick, right? The first receiver taken, first round for the Packers in 20 years. He has everything. Now he's going to have the opportunity. There's been some departures at receiver. He's going to be the guy that steps up there. Last season could not have ended on a higher note for him, and I'm excited to see where that takes him into 2026.
Bob, last year Matthew was the fastest receiver in the draft. Now, as the prince of the prospect primer, do you see any intriguing offensive prospects in this year's draft?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Packers may not have a first-round pick this year, and it's going to be tough to watch a lot of those names go off the board on Thursday night in the draft. But day 2 and day 3, there are still some real athletic specimens on the offensive side of the ball, and here's a handful to keep an eye on.
Washington bursting across the Arkansas plain.
If you're looking for size and speed, look no further. Running back Mike Washington is that dude.
Still on his feet. 10-5 touchdown
Arkansas's battering ram is coming off his best season to date. Another star from the SEC, tight end Eli Stowers. The former QB is now a quarterback's best friend who is lethal after the catch.
Right over the middle. This is Stowers.
Stowers' athleticism helped him earn the Mackey Award as the nation's best tight end.
Touchdown, Vanderbilt.
And like Stowers, wide receiver Ted Hurst is a true vertical threat.
There he is, right on cue, and you see why. Gone!
4.4 speed with the height to posterize DBs.
One-on-one to Hurst, touchdown!
And while we're talking big boys, check out guard Emmanuel Pregnant. The first-team All-American has long arms and precise hands with 51 starts to his name. One more prospect with elite hands, Emmett Johnson. Number 21 led Nebraska in receptions last season and can deke defenders out of their shoes. The Big Ten running back of the year rounds out a group of premier prospects that all possess the talent to win at the next level.
Emmett Johnson, interminable energy, and moves the chains.
And here's a look at the Packers draft order with 8 total selections. This marks the first time in 40 years the Packers have entered the draft without a first-round pick.
We talked about Jonathan Gannon earlier in the show, but the Packers also have a new special teams coordinator in Cam Acord, and Matt LaFleur really likes his resume.
A lot of juice. I love his experience being in New England, learning from Bill, and he had a lot of good units with the Patriots. The last couple of years he's been with the Giants, and but it's great to have him on staff.
Okay, gentlemen, the NFL calendar rolls on. Of course, we have the draft coming up, but after that, what are you most looking forward to, Wes?
Larry, May has become one of my favorite months of the year because it is NFL schedule release time. And not only will we find out where the Packers are playing 9 home games in the regular season this year, right? But it's also a chance for our social media departments around the NFL to kind of, let down their hair a little bit, have some fun announcing these things. So excited to see what they can cook up.
Spaff, what's giving you goosebumps?
Well, when we get to late May and early June, we're finally going to see these players on the practice field again. And whether you're talking the new additions like Hargrave or Zaire Franklin or Sky Moore, but also we're going to get at least a preview of what Jonathan Gannon's new defense is going to look like. Now, training camp will be a lot bigger deal and a lot more important down the road in the summer, but we get that first glimpse in the spring.
Guys, I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to. In July, I'm taking my kids and grandkids on a cruise. And when I'm done with that insanity, I will be so ready, so ready for the start of training camp. Gentlemen, thank you, and thank you for watching. Until next time, whenever that is, take care.